Manchester United have a £10 million bid for England, and Atletico Madrid right back Kieran Trippier rejected and turned down. Atletico, of course, have increasing and rising debts, getting near to over £1 billion, but they're still holding out for what they feel to be an adequate offer for the England right back. On top of that, today, Liverpool are reportedly making good progress in their attempt to sign the Roma midfielder Lorenzo Pellegrini. We've got all that and much, much more on the Football Terrace. Hit that like button. Here we go. Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Good morning to each and every single one of you. I hope you are doing well. I hope you're having great starts to your day. Lots of transfer news to go with you, through with you this morning as well. Away from some of the big stories that have been dominating in the last 2 or 3 days, the Jadon Sanchos, the Haalands, the Hakimis that have been trending everywhere. There's other things to catch up on, other stories to go through with you this morning as well. We will be keeping you up to date all day today with the progression of Paulo Fonseca to Tottenham. That's in very advanced stages. An announcement relating to that deal could be happening at any moment. We're also taking your calls this morning as well as going through member chats, super chats as well. David, good morning to you. Hope you are well, my friend. Thank you. It gets here. Doubt it's strange to have the first bid rejected. Don't go straight in. And that's very, very true. So what you'll start to see happen over the next 24 hours is lots of reports about initial bids, initial official bids, and rejections. Now, half of these bids won't even be official. They'll be done for intermediaries. Clubs don't like the word rejected being labelled next to them, so they don't do it this way. Man United, with the Kieran Trippier deal, are very much following a path to that of the Alex Telles situation. They're not approaching Kieran Trippier to be their main guy. They're very much looking at AWB in the long term doing that, although there is talk about AWB moving into a centre-back role next year, which I find interesting considering how much he gets caught under the ball. It's not something I'm particularly keen on. But at the end of the day, Kieran Trippier is not looked at as someone who's going to be a starter. He's there to push AWB for AWB to learn from, to give us strength and depth in rotation. Now, the current valuation of Kieran Trippier in the market, if you look at the leading financial consultancies that help dictate the price of players, is between 15 and 18 million pounds. United have gone in with a 10 million pound bid, which has been rejected. It's highly likely that United will go back in with a slightly higher bid. Of course, Atletico, that we know are in real financial trouble, are going to try and increase this. They're going to try and get more money. That is something we know to be true. And we can see here on Give Me Sport how much is Kieran Trippier worth. The Football Insider stated that United have bid just £10 million for the right back. The report is almost half of what the Spanish clubs paid for the 30-year-old in 2019 when they spent nearly £20 million on him for the services from Spurs. Transfer market value Trippier at £18 million, and he still has another 2 years remaining on his current deal to keep him in the Spanish capital. And then it goes on to speak about, do Atletico Madrid need to sell? And the answer is potentially yes. In November, Goal claimed Atletico's debt had increased to a staggering 999 million euros, 863 million. We're getting close to a legitimate £1 billion of debt that Atletico Madrid currently have at their football club. Now, that debt needs to be managed. That debt has large pending payments, and it's very, very difficult for Atletico Madrid to get this paid without the need to sell players. It's why Saul Niguez is reportedly up for grabs, along with a number of other players this summer. Thomas Partey leaving last year, of course, that was for a buyout clause, but it wasn't like they were bending over backwards to offer him masses of money to keep him at the football club. They simply can't afford it. So it is believed that a bid in the region of around between 13 and 15 million pounds could be enough to secure the services of Kieran Trippier. That's done exceptionally well in Spain. He's done very, very well in Spain. There's no doubt about it. He is a league title winner. He's been an integral part of the team. And he's a right back that got a lot of stick, really. He's a player and a right back that got a lot of stick for a long period of time. When he was at Tottenham, always kind of looked at as overrated. He's not really up to the standards. He went to Spain. He's been brilliant. He's been integral in a Diego Simeone team that went on to win La Liga against all odds. And I hope Man United do pursue him, because we moaned all season we didn't have adequate cover in those right back areas. I think it's a lot of pressure on Laird to come in as a youth and inexperienced player to try and do that, especially when AWB is young and inexperienced to a degree himself. Inexperienced in comparison to a 30-year-old Kieran Trippier. Trippier gives Man United a bit more versatility. He can play left and right back. He's good at going forward, good set piece taker, and a good defender. It gives us the opportunity to rotate AWB, rest AWB. I think he played nearly every single game, featured in almost every single game last season, and has done for the past 2 years. At this rate, he will burn out and pick up an injury. And we spoke about Liverpool last summer and how lots of their players had played consecutively for 2 or 3 years and injuries were pending. The same thing could be said for the likes of AWB. So it's going to be interesting to see how Manchester United move forward with this deal over the course of the next few weeks. But I think for me, it's something that I'm excited about. I'm intrigued by, and I just can't wait to see the progression of it. I really, really can't, because it's going to be an interesting one for me. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. Interesting here. Big breaking news this morning. Big breaking news while we are live on the air. I'm going to put this up on the screen. This could all be happening before the beginning of the Euros. Who knows? But Jan Fjørtoft here, Man United, and Jadon Sancho getting closer is the news this morning. I said at the top of this stream, we're going to not be talking about these deals today. And then literally while I'm live on the air, there is breaking news in relation to this deal. We'll touch on that in a few moments' time. We're also speaking Liverpool today and their pursuit of Lorenzo Pellegrini from Roma. It says here that the 24-year-old is said to have agreed personal terms with the Reds. They're asking for around 40 million euros for the player. I want Liverpool fans' views and opinions. We're going to open up the lines for you to come on and have your say with us now. I'm going to post the link to call in the StreamYard call-in link on Discord. So you need to be signed up to our Discord server to get that done. And another big ask from you all today, whether you're new to the Football Terrace, you've been on the Football Terrace before, no matter how long you've been around, do me a big favor and please hit the like and share button. But subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you know when we go live as a channel. Steve here says, great news regarding Sancho. Yes, it is. And it is moving closer. There's no doubt about it. And Jan Fjørtoft doesn't tend to tweet about these things unless he knows something that is going, that is going on in relation to that. And I've just sent a message off to a few people asking what they know about it as well. Call in now if you want to have your say. There we go. So that's shared, so you can come on and have your say with this morning. Terry, what about Haaland? Well, the Haaland update came yesterday, really. And there is an update, but there's no further update on it other than the fact that we know that it's in Chelsea's hands now. Chelsea, if they want him, they have to bid. Haaland is up for moving to Chelsea. But Chelsea are also looking at Lukaku as an option. They still have Harry Kane on their radar. Dean Jones was bang on right 2 days ago on the Done Deal show on the Football Terrace. Absolutely on point. It's decision-making time for Chelsea. That is where things are today. We're also going to post the link for you to call in the live comments section as well. Small clubs get rejected. Small clubs don't win trophies and lose Europa finals. Yeah, I mean, thanks for that, the Real Blue Moon. I appreciate that, my guy. Top man. Thank you. Sharek here says, calling the hypocrites out. I don't know what you mean by that, bro. Elaborate. I know you're not talking to me, but elaborate on what you mean. I'd love to know what you mean in relation to that. Prince says, Terry, I can't get gas. Well, look, let's wait and see what more comes out in relation to this Jadon Sancho news. I want to hear from you about Kieran Trippier. Liverpool fans, I want to hear from you as well in relation to the Lorenzo Pellegrini deal. This is what's stated about Lorenzo. This is what's been stated here about Lorenzo Pellegrini to Liverpool. It says the 24-year-old is said to have agreed personal terms with the Reds, and it's just his transfer fee needing to be settled. Roma are asking for around 40 million euros. Goes on to say that Pellegrini is shone in Serie A and looks like an ideal replacement for Gini Wijnaldum, who have been strongly linked with him for a number of months now. That report claims that Liverpool had bid around 20. There's been reports that have said that Liverpool have bid around 28 million pounds for Pellegrini, but it remains to be seen how much the Italian international is likely to end up costing. And as we said earlier, these bids are going to go in. And Pellegrini, by the way, was excellent against. Although United in the end slapped Roma at Old Trafford, he was excellent in that game before he went off. This is when you'll start to see bids go in from clubs. Teams will always bid lower than they want to get a player for. It's why I said the other day the Arsenal story that stated that Arsenal went in for their second target before their first target makes no sense. Clubs always go for their primary target first, if they're attainable. And of course, Emi Buendia was attainable. And they always bid lower than what they're willing to pay initially, no matter what's going on. The only time they don't do that is if there's 2 or 3 clubs vying for that player. And if you really want someone, and if they're a primary target, you don't piss far about, you get the job done. So don't expect all these deals to happen instantly, quickly, straight away. Because if Liverpool can save £10 million on every transfer this summer and they sign 5 players, that's £50 million saves that can be invested elsewhere in the squad in another transfer window or in a contract renewal for a player. So it's very, very important to remember that. But I want your thoughts and I want your feelings on this. We're going to start going to your calls here. First up this morning, Liam Morrissey is with us. Liam, good morning. Welcome back to the terrace. What are you here to say, mate?
Yeah, I'm just here to talk about Pellegrini. So Roma want 40 million euros, even though he's got a 30 million release clause.
We can't hear you right now.
Oh, 1 second. Don't know what's going on with my mic. Can you hear me now?
Yes, got you now. Got you now. What are you saying, buddy?
Yeah, like the whole Roma to Pellegrini thing. They're saying they want 40 million euros, but he's got a 30 million release clause. So they're just like trying to take the piss. Because we're not going to pay more than the release clause.
Yeah, so I do understand that. Then there is some clarity needed around this release clause. So some of these release clauses are. So Bruno Fernandes had one, and it wasn't a release clause where they had to accept. It was a release clause where they have to inform the player that the bid has come in to say, listen, you've had £30 million bid. What do you want us to do? Does that make sense? Like there's some really weird release clauses that actually they don't really mean anything. They just mean we have to inform the player that the bid is coming, because sometimes bids come in and they don't let players know because they don't want to destabilize. So there isn't any clarity yet as to whether it's like a compulsory release clause, but I do hear you on that. So it's strange. And the reason I say that, you could be bang on. What I find strange is that the Italian press are not reporting that in that way. Does that make sense? They're just kind of saying the bids come in and Roma are holding out for 40 million. So maybe we need some clarity on that. But as a player, how encouraged are you by this potential signing?
I remember watching him against like Man United, and he does look a player. He looks like he scores goals, he assists goals. Could be what we need, and like for 40 million euros, it's a pretty good deal considering when you've seen like other midfield targets, they're going for like 50, 60 million, which obviously we're not going to be looked at because we don't really spend that amount of money on players. We look more the 30, 40 sort of figure. But yeah, if we get him, it'd be a great signing. Obviously, he's a bit different from Gini Wijnaldum as well. Gini Wijnaldum's he's not really known for his goals and assists. He's more known for like bringing the ball forward and obviously like carrying the ball on that. So I think we need someone that's a bit more offensive, someone that's a bit more attacking than what we had with Wijnaldum, so that we can go on to another level.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think that's if you look at, I think you're bang on. If you actually look at quite a few of the midfield signings that Jurgen Klopp has made over the years, he has been seeking this attacking midfield player to elevate his team, whether it be through goal scoring, creativity and or both. You think of Naby Keita, you think of Oxlade-Chamberlain as an example. He's been looking for those types of players. It's just been fairly unfortunate, whether it be through injury, ability, deliverance, whatever it may be, that Liverpool haven't yet been able to find that player. If you understand where I'm coming from, without trying to sound salty or disrespectful.
Yeah, I think we were when we were trying to sign Fekir. I think that was the type of player that he was looking at, like a number 10 that can also play as an 8, that can like score and also assist. Obviously, that fell apart. So, but yeah, I think he's going to change his formation. I think we're probably going to go to like more of a 4-2-3-1 where we've got someone up top, and then obviously Bobby Firmino could probably drop back. But yeah, it's interesting. Hopefully that there is something to it, and you know we because Liverpool don't usually bid for a player unless they've had some kind of thing from the agent or they've heard that the player's interested. I don't think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's just going to be interesting to see. I think you just back to your original point there about the Fekir thing. That's just a standout example of the kind of player that Klopp, as you say, has been looking for and trying, and the space that he's trying to move into. It's going to be an interesting one. I think what I also think is really, really interesting is the profile of player that Liverpool are looking for here. And I said this to Liverpool fans last season, and again, I mean it with no disrespect intended. Unless you sell someone big, I remember getting shot down. I don't know if you were watching the shows when I was talking about having spoke to an agent who's very, very close to Liverpool. And he said,
I watched that show. Yeah,
all the targets were going to be between this 30 to 40, maybe 45 million pound mark. The only way a gigantic player is coming in terms of monetary is if somebody big leaves. And you look at the profile of everyone you're heavily linked to: Rafinha, Daka, Decor, now Pellegrini. They're all in that kind of Jota price range, as it were. And I think Liverpool fans have got to temper themselves. I think you're going to be a 3 or 4 year cycle, a 2 or 3 year cycle team where you have 2 or 3 amazing years, and then you might have a little downturn for a couple as you start to rebuild, because teams always get a little bit stale, always, and then you come again. If you think about these young players you're looking at, there is amazing potential in this. There really, really is. Liam, listen, my guy, thank you. Great call, great points raised as ever. Well spoken.
Thanks for having me on, Terry.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very, very much indeed. I really appreciate that, buddy. Thank you. Daniel here with a super chat says, I'm back whoever Klopp and Edwards sign. I back whoever Klopp and Edwards sign, but the Italians don't seem to perform well at Anfield. Hopefully Pellegrini bucks that trend. I have got an update here on the Jadon Sancho situation. This is a personal update. This is from the Football Terrace exclusively here. This is what was said. It goes, what I heard yesterday is that Dortmund were getting the ump because of all the speculation and no sign of an offer. So intermediaries are chasing them up to see if they actually intend to bid. So what has reportedly happened is Dortmund are getting frustrated. Dortmund are saying there has been no movement in this last week. But the big journalists and a lot of people are saying the deal's moving closer. A lot of people have said that negotiations have begun. Dortmund have been very forthright in saying nothing's happened. The intermediaries, like I've told you all along, it's the intermediaries that the dealings happen with. So there has been no official contact, and we know this. The intermediaries have now gone to Manchester United and suggested, is there going to be the intent for an initial bid to go in? It's highly reported that if the deal isn't done today, the done deal isn't agreed to today, it will go beyond the Euros. Of course, the European Championships start tomorrow. I think it's Italy-Turkey. I want to say Italy-Turkey tomorrow, but I could be wrong. But the opening game is tomorrow night at 8 p.m. We'll be covering that on the Football Terrace. That's my insight to this from you in relation to what has been said. In relation to that. So it's an interesting take on the Jadon Sancho situation. Terry, you related to John Terry? No, my first name's Terry, not my surname, my guy. Thank you very much indeed. Imagine, I like that one. Let's go to some more calls here this morning. I want your views and I want your opinions. Lewis here says this is the best way to spend in the transfer market after COVID. Name one big signing this summer But name one big signing this summer by another team. Are you saying instead of signing a Haaland, buy a complete new team? I think it depends on your situation. So some clubs like Chelsea, they only need a player or two. Plus, they can spend anyway. If you've got a team that's fairly complete and it needs that one final piece to make it work, then that makes sense in itself. Next on the show this morning, we have Fixer. Fixer, welcome back. What are you saying, buddy?
Yeah, hi Terry. What's up?
Yeah, I'm very, very good. What do you make of first of all, the Jadon Sancho development this morning? I literally woke up this morning and said there was no kind of new or trending news. I was going to have a day of not talking about him, and then Jan Fjørtoft comes out and says that it's getting closer. What's your take on that news today?
We've been hearing that same news for like 3 years now, 18 months. It's getting closer. Tomorrow they're gonna say a fee has been agreed, and then the next day they're gonna say, United is stalling, and then next day they're gonna say the agent fees have been. I mean, it's just like, listen, like Jadon Sancho is a good player. I'm not even gonna deny it. Like, he's a good player. I mean, but if it's not gonna if it's proving too difficult, like United have to learn to just be able to walk away from things. Like we hold on to. I don't know why we hold on to things for so long. We hold on to Pogba, even though he doesn't want to play for us. I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's a very good player, but he just doesn't want to play for United. That's obvious. Everybody knows that. But yes, we're still hanging on. Jadon Sancho, the deal doesn't seem to be coming off. For some reason or the other, we can't close the deal. But we're still hanging on. Instead of us use this time to like explore other options. I mean, we have this. I don't know. Ever since Solskjaer came, we have this ability to just stay fixated on one player. I remember when Mourinho was around on Van Gaal. If they couldn't get one person, they just went to the next person straight away, and moved on. And yes, the team wasn't like.
But you know what? So just to interject on that, that's something that those managers both moaned about. So for me, that approach is something that those managers and Manchester United fans were furious about. Were absolutely furious about for a long, long time, because they ended up sometimes going for third, fourth, fifth choice, or even players that the managers and scouting teams said barely fit or don't fit the profile of player that we need. We have to be very careful as Man United fans have an ability. I mean, all people are hypocritical at times. Every single one of us at some stage, at some point, are hypocrites. We all know this. However,
Terry, but why? The question is why.
Let me finish my point, Fred. Let me finish my point. Sorry. We're hypocrites at times. I sat on doing my shows for 3 years, and nearly every Man United call about transfers was, we need to look at Chelsea. We need to look at City. We need to look at Liverpool. Their models are brilliant. Barring the odd dud signing, they go after their main targets. They can't get their number one target. They might get their second. Outside of that, they can't do it. They look at a different position and they wait for a main target to be available. We begged and pleaded for our club to behave that way. Now we behave that way and we moan that it takes too long to get deals done for specific players. That's the way the cookie crumbles. You can't say go after one or two players only.
Yeah, but it does take too long. It takes way too long. I mean, I haven't seen any club who takes this amount of time to sign any player that they want. It takes just way too long. So the problem is either we don't know how to negotiate.
Well, we know
the players we want don't want us. Hang
on a minute. We know that though, Fixer. We know that we've notoriously had bad negotiators. So it doesn't matter that you've got to remember there's two things in life. There's no such thing as a perfect man, just perfect intentions. So even if we try to change our model and say, right, we're going to go after finite players. These 4 people are the only 4 players we want in the next year and a half. Let's work tirelessly to get them. The next element to that is having what Liverpool and Chelsea have, is good negotiators. But just because the negotiators are bad doesn't mean you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater and change the approach. Now, let's see what happens this summer. Right now, it's day 1 of the transfer window or day 2 of the transfer window. With this summer, under the new regime, we haven't prolonged this deal. You can't have a go at Myrtle and Fletcher for how long it's taken because they've only just become in charge. So that's just, for me, it's the right player to go for. It's right that we've not changed our mind and gone for a brand new target straight away. But let's just see how these new negotiators get on. In terms of Kieran Trippier, just changing the subject slightly, Are you infused by a signing like this? Fairly cheap, 12, 13 million should pick him up maybe. Experienced league winner recently in La Liga. Would you be encouraged by this signing at Man United?
Not really, because the reason why they're bringing Kieran Trippier in is so that he backs up Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That's what I've been hearing. And I'm thinking to myself, why are we intentionally going for a player who is worse than Wan-Bissaka? Why are we not looking for a player that's better, that will bench Wan-Bissaka so that we can actually win stuff? Why do we always try to protect careers instead of letting the players defend their careers themselves? I hear people saying, "Oh, don't bring this player in because it's going to affect the development of this other player." And I'm thinking, bring the best player in. If his development is affected, then he obviously isn't meant to be here. You know what I mean? So we should be looking for a player who is actually. I know you're going to ask me who, but I don't have any player in mind now. But I'm telling you, like, we should be looking for a player who is potentially better than Wan-Bissaka, so that he comes and make the team better. We can't intentionally get a player that is worse than Wan-Bissaka, or is going to come in.
Well, there are some people. There are some people that think, going forward, Trippier is certainly better. There'll be some that will say at 30 years old, good injury record. There's 3 or 4 years left in Kieran Trippier's legs. Some people would say right now Kieran Trippier is better. I mean, Gareth Southgate, I know we don't rate him. He certainly thinks he's better. You've got Diego Simeone.
He's definitely not better. Definitely not.
But you don't think Kieran Trippier is better than
no, it's not.
Not as a one-on-one. I actually don't think anybody at one-on-one defending in the world right now is if they're better, it's only marginally better than AWB. But as an overall player, positioning, the reading of the game, the offensive element of it, I think Kieran Trippier has a number of attributes where he is better. For me, I look at it the other way though, Fixer. We bought in Alex Tellers, and most of us assumed that Alex Tellers would be the regular left back this year and enhanced Luke Shaw to the next level. What I'm hoping for with the Kieran Trippier signing is that you see an improvement. You see an improvement, and you see that bit between the teeth from AWB to raise his game further. But we will see. Listen, mate, great call though. Great points being raised. We always like a bit of challenge here on the terrace. Top man, thank you. No, I do, mate. I honestly, I would shut the channel down tomorrow if everybody phoned up and agreed with me or the panelists. It'd be very boring. We don't do echo. Look, I watched a stream the other night, and I literally sat there and watched I think it was 6, 7 people on the show, and they all had the same opinion on nearly every single topic. And I just thought to myself, what's the point? Let's have one of you on.
Yeah.
I think it was mainly talking about Liverpool stuff. And I was like, I like all of you, but you all had the same opinion. And I actually messaged one of the dudes, I know him quite well. I said, why don't you have some fans on of Liverpool who think a little different and create a debate? Because it was just like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. And once I listened to the third person give the same opinion as the first two.
There are a lot of channels like that, Terry. A lot of channels. I'm not going to say the name. I was listening to one the other day. It's a Man United channel, and every single member of the panel is saying the same thing. Everybody commenting is saying the same thing. And I'm thinking, oh, what is this? Is this some sort of gang-related channel? But anyways.
No, I hear you. My view is this, that I have no problem with the opinion. It's just, I have it on here sometimes. Sometimes when I'm doing calls, I'm like, okay, well, I know what Fixer thinks, so I have him on. And then I might see in the back Cam, like Canadian Cam. Well, I know Canadian Cam's really positive, so I want to throw him on because I want that different take, because it's about different opinions. It's important to me. But yeah, I messaged him. No, it wasn't the Coppish. The Coppish are brilliant. Coppish have very diverse opinions for Liverpool fans. Listen, Fixer, thank you very much for coming on, mate, and having your say. Really appreciate it, buddy. Top man. Thank you. It's a fairly new up and coming Liverpool channel as well. And it was just feedback. It's a bad show. It's hard to keep people engaged when there isn't difference of opinions like that. Next on the show, we're going to have Matt. Matt, welcome to the channel. Who do you support, mate?
Man United.
You're a Man United fan. First of all, Jadon Sancho, the deal's getting closer. Development according to Jan Furitov. The information I've been given this morning is that Dortmund are getting frustrated. The intermediaries are asking if Man United are willing to put a bid in. What's your thoughts?
Well, it's good news that we're actually getting closer. That's a good start. But again, I mean, you can't read into it too much. But when you read on the upper-tiers that United are acting more like a football club in the way that they're negotiating, it's a story that really went under the radar. Is that we're acting more like a football club. that's good and all, but you need to be acting like a big club, and the big club would start getting these deals done now. If you're edging closer and edging closer, you want to start seeing the pace picking up properly. And I think perhaps that lack of experience yet, because obviously they're two brand new people to the roles. I think that lack of experience hasn't quite, said, all right, we'll go for it now. So I think, I think it will probably progress, but maybe not. It probably won't happen until after the Euros. I think perhaps that's more likely because they might go to Ed Woodward and say, look, how do we get through this bit? Ask for his advice. And of course, we all know that's going to take another 6 weeks for the deal to be completed through that. So yeah, I don't see it happening before the Euros, because I think by this point now it might happen pending medical or something like that. But it's it's difficult to say. United may not pull the trigger if with the Euros coming up so closely now. So I think we'll be in the same sort of stage for the next couple of weeks. Maybe even until July. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, listen, the acting like a proper club thing is an interesting one. I've had this conversation on here many times before, and stated, and stand by the opinion that I had then. It's the same as now, that I want to see some of the elements of the way we behaved in the last year or so. I've agreed with. The problem is that I'm just fearful that we don't end up signing the players that we need, because we don't have the quality of personnel to get these deals over the line, and we end up with egg on our face still. What I would like to see, though, is, as we say, if Myrtle and Fletcher can improve that, and we can move these things on, and we can start driving down the cost of players, rising the cost of players that we sell, but then that money be reinvested in the squad, then I become a happier fan of the club. And ideally, you want everything. You want to sign the right players in a timely manner for a good price and be respected in the transfer market. Because I would say Man United have not only signed a lot of duds because we've had bad approaches, but we've also probably hemorrhaged £300 or £400 million on fees above the valuation of those players when you add it all together.
And also in wages as well. In wages, where some players were way too long when they should have been. So like Sergio Romero could have gone for 4 million, and then you end up paying 4 million for his thing. So you've already gone down 8 million.
Yeah,
it's basic stuff.
Exactly. So you had that Romero thing of £8 million. You add all together, you're probably thinking £600-700 million maybe of hemorrhage money in the last 8 years. Now, if you still had the majority of that money in the club, there would be no issue this summer. You could go and sign Haaland, you could sign Sancho, you could sign Varane, you could sign Declan Rice, and there'd be no problem. That's why Man United, if we run correctly, it will take a number of years to recoup, recatch, especially after the COVID settings. But Man United have the income as a club to be able to compete. But it's about being shrewd at the right times. And so there is that element where you need to get it right. And I understand fans' view of it isn't my money, I don't care. I only agree with that to a certain extent, because if you were to hemorrhage, say on average every deal you hemorrhage 10 million quid because you've got bad at negotiating. Would you be happy as a club if after every deal the owners walked into the middle of the car park at Old Trafford and burnt £10 million of the club's money? You'd go mental. That's what you do when you overpromise, underdeliver, and things like that when it comes to it. But listen, Matt, great call as ever. Thank you very much for coming on, mate, and having us say top man. A few people are saying, Terry, why are you blocking Jose comments? I have no idea what you are talking about when it comes to Jose. Let me know. Hit that like button for me this morning as well, people. Right now, to get this past at least 500 likes while we're live on the air. Jan Furtoffer says Jadon Sancho and the Man United deal is drawing closer. What I've been informed while we're live on the air this morning is that Dortmund are pushing for a resolution. The intermediaries have gone to Manchester United, and the intermediaries are asking if an actual bid is intended to come in before the start of the Euros. Ball now in Manchester United's court. £10 million bid for Kieran Trippier has been turned down. And Liverpool fans, we are talking Lorenzo Pellegrini. You've reportedly agreed personal terms with the Italian midfielder. There's still a differential on the asking price. There's the report of a €30 million buyout clause, which you've reportedly bidded. So it's a little bit strange why that hasn't been accepted. I want your views and opinions on all of these matters. You can phone into the Football Terrace now. I'm going to share that link below for you. Next on the show, my guy is here. Ads is in the house from GNA TV. Good morning, mate. How are you?
Not bad, bro. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm very good indeed. What do you make on the United news, first of all, this morning?
Yeah, no, the Jadon Sancho news is brilliant, but like Matt said before, we need to finish it off, need to get it past the finishing line, and if we do that, then I don't see, I see us actually improving in the attacking sense, but like every team needs a DM, every team needs a DM, and I think what we need and what we did this season very very wrong was we overplayed certain players. We overplayed Fred, we overplayed Wan-Bissaka, and I think we get a DM in. You give those players a rest, and we actually have a DM. Like people think, just because you have these two midfielders playing defensive roles in a pivot, that they're DMs. No, Fred's a defensive box to box, and McTominay is a box to box who goes forward. We need that DM to complete our team off, especially in the midfield. And I think we bring in a Declan Rice, I'll be happy. If it's anyone else, I'll be happy as well. But I'd love for Trippier to come, and I've seen that he's been rejected. The current bid's been rejected, and it's upsetting because I like Trippier. I think he's a very underrated player. I think he's one of those very like underlooked at players. And yeah, man, I really wish he would come, because for me, I'd love Sancho, a DM, and then Trippier. Give a few players a break, and then just to complete our team. And then if those three players come in, then there's no excuse for us to not be up there trying to contend for a few things.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think the Kieran Trippier approach is perfect. I think that's the kind of player that we've signed players like him in the past that are getting towards the twilight of their career, but they're mid-marquee signings. So when we signed Bastian Schweinsteiger, it was wrong because we needed a new midfield and he was past his best. Now, if you'd have gone and signed a Bastian Schweinsteiger as a backup player to a very young and exciting midfield, it would have been fine. But it's horses for courses, and I think that's where we've struggled at times. The Sancho information, as we've said, will it be a done deal agreed today? Will Man United make this bid today ahead of the Euros? I don't know. Jan Furtov has said it's drawing closer. For me, it can't be drawing closer beyond today. I think after today, the deal starts to stall because the players, especially the camps, and this isn't just the Sancho deal. This is anyone who's at the Euros. Things are going to slow down because players are going to get into that tunnel vision. They're going to get into that tournament mode. The only thing that could change it is the fact that, of course, England's camp is in the UK. So, if there's a lot of speculation, Southgate and the England setup and the FA might say, listen, Jadon, do you want to take 6 hours, leave the camp, go do a medical, whatever it is, to get the deal completed so you can focus? There is the advantage of us being in England this time rather than flying off to another part of the world. But it's going to be an interesting 12 hours or so now to see what happens, what transpires. Do Man United respond to the intermediaries and make the bid, or do things die down there until after the Euros? It's going to be very, very interesting indeed. My guy, listen, I appreciate you coming on. Adds great points, mate. Speak to you soon. Top man. Thank you. Next on the show, Liverpool fan is with us. Ram is in the house. Morning, mate. How you doing?
Morning, Terry. How are you today?
I'm very, very well. What's your take, buddy, on this Pellegrini news? Liverpool have agreed personal terms and they're negotiating a fee as it's right now.
I'm very happy with it. I've seen him play quite a bit. He's played at the highest level in the Champions League and Europa League for Roma. He shows a lot of promise. If you look at his stats last season, he reached double digits for both goals and assist contributions. So it's something that adds a little bit of something different to our midfield. I've been hearing a lot of people being concerned about him being Italian and how Italian football is a little bit different to ours. I don't think he'll start straight away, to be honest, because I think he'll get the Fabinho treatment where he gets blooded in the next 2 to 3 months, and hopefully, God willingly, Jordan Henderson will stay fit. And if someone has to come in, hopefully James Milner or Curtis Jones could come in for like a couple of games, and then if he's ready to take upon the starting role, he's right there to be picked. It's as simple as that. But he's a great signing. He is a very good player.
It does appear it does look like a number of these signings that Liverpool Football Club are looking at are to improve you now, but also to give you that future, if that makes sense. It's like let's give Liverpool a base and a future here to grow from. Sort of shrink the average age of the squad, go again. Whether Klopp, when's Klopp contract end? 2024.
2024, yeah.
So you've got 3 years. That's the cycle. Maybe this is all being done listen, you're going to try and win the league next year. You're going to try and win the Champions League. Of course you are. But maybe the aim of this is by the start of the 2022
This is
season,
for someone else.
This is when this is when this new team, this new crop click, and you go on that 2-3 year run where you're challenging for titles and you're at your potent best again. And most teams go through those cycles really with normal resource. You know, it's only really the Man Cities of this world. And even when you think like Chelsea have been on an interesting cycle. Look how long it's taken them to be really competitive again since Conte won the league in 2017. That's 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So even with how well they're run, there's still a cycle process to go through. So it's certainly going to be an interesting.
The main thing with this, Terry, is that it needs consistency. You need to consistently have seasons where you spend circa 120 to 150 million pounds on players every season. So that's, say, 40 million pound per player. That's around about just under about 4 players, including like 3 transfers. So that needs to have that level of consistency. And last season, whilst it was still a decent transfer window where we got Diogo Jota and Thiago and Tsimikas, it still wasn't enough. We still needed a couple more players. We only spent around about 90 million pounds when we should have spent around about 150. So that air of consistency needs to be there when we do these type of businesses. And that's what we need. That's what we need.
No, absolutely. And it's, in fairness, last year, barring it was average business considering you were Premier League champions. It really was average business. When you look back, like Tsimikas, I don't remember seeing him play a game, to be fair. He might have made a sub, but I know he had injuries, but he didn't play. Thiago was a good signing, but it took him very long to settle. Got an injury as well. It just Jota. It was just hard, really, because most of your signings got injured or didn't really play very much. Example, so Liverpool will want to start. They'll want to go into this their preseason that starts in what. It's mad to think preseason actually starts in like 5-6 week time. So, a lot of work to be done between now and then. Go on, mate.
One more thing. This is going to sound a bit mad, but if Chelsea or City sign Kane or Haaland, which sounds very, very, very likely, I think the only solution for us is to sign Lewandowski. I think that's the only way we can compete with them because Kane and Haaland are generational players, and the only way to beat someone like that is to have a generational player like yourselves. And I think Lewandowski, I think this Euros, if Poland do well, people will start to realize that the gap between Lewandowski and Kane in terms of creating chances for other players is not as far as they think it is. He's very, very creative and he will help us, no doubt.
Well, that's a great point you raised there, Ram, because I want to say this in the right way. As you say, if Chelsea or City sign either of those gargantuan players with the current, if Man United sign Haaland, I wouldn't be as confident because there's still other holes in our squads. But those two teams are fairly complete, and they are also looking at Hakimi's and Grealish's as well. If Grealish and Kane go to City, if Haaland and Hakimi and maybe Saul Niguez or someone of that ilk. Or Verratti, we heard about yesterday, Chelsea. I just don't see Liverpool or Man United being able to stay the pace with them. They're just going to be too strong, too good, and they'll be able to balance.
You're going to get Sancho, isn't it? You're going to get Sancho. So
we've got holes elsewhere, mate. And I just think we won't be able to stay the pace. It's the fact that they will also be able to go hell for leather in every competition, and our squads just won't be able to cut it because you can literally have Chelsea can have a big Premier League and big Champions League game in a week if they sign their targets and have a situation where they're able to stick on the bench to rest. They can literally rest, their best midfielder and their best fullback and have and still have Verratti and Hakimi out there. It's just that's the levels they're looking at, and our clubs are a little bit behind that. Ram, thanks for coming on, mate, and having your say. Really appreciate it, buddy. Top man, thank you. Next on the show, we're going to go to Mo. Mo is a Man United fan. What are you saying, buddy?
Morning, sir. How's it going, mate? You all right?
Yeah, very good, my end. What's on your mind, mate?
Well, first and foremost, the Sancho deal. I think this deal is going to flop. I know that people are saying it's close and all that stuff. I think the problems at Man United is huge with this transfer dealings, sporting director, and all that. If they were serious about fixing the football club, they would have got a new CEO in, get a good sporting director in, and then go from there. You've got a guy who's been at the club for 8 years, John Murtaugh. I have no idea what he was doing at that club. I don't think he's going to get the deal done. I don't know what Darren Fletcher does. I think it's like, I don't know what he does. I don't think this deal's going to get done, Terry. I think they're going to, if the bid was going to go in, it would have gone in by now. Like, they've been working this deal for a year now. You're telling me it takes a year to put a bid in? I just don't understand.
United have put, in fairness to them, they have put bids in. They just, the first bid was rejected. They then didn't put a bid in before the deadline, and then they did. And when they bid after the deadline, they didn't offer the asking price. So it didn't work for them last year.
Yeah, but that's what you do your due diligence. I mean, Chelsea and Man City don't do that, and Liverpool don't do that. So why is Man United? Man United is behind them in every department.
I completely agree. But
department.
To play devil's advocate, would you not say though, Mo?
Yeah.
This is new people this summer dealing with the transfers. So
same people. It's the same people at the club for being 8 years. They've just moved it around.
I'm personally skeptical like you. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
Should we not give the new regime opportunity to show us what they can do?
No. Terry, it's been 8 years of this. This guy, John Murtagh, I've looked into his time at the club. He's been there for 8 years. It's what it is. What they've done is moved people about. Also, one other thing with the Trippier thing, the Trippier one concerns me. I think Trippier is going to come in and he's going to eventually dislodge this guy. I think Trippier is better footballer. I think Wan-Bissaka is good defensively, but going forward, Terry, eventually Trippier will displace him because Man United want to be a high press counter-attacking team. They want to play, on the front foot.
So this is good business by Man United then for Kieran Trippier.
Yeah, Trippier, I don't know how long it's going to take for Trippier. For me, Trippier is better than him. I know Wan-Bissaka is good defensively, but going forward, it's not better than Trippier. No way. Trippier will displace it. Trippier is going to dislodge him. And Trippier don't get injured as well. So I think with him, with Wan-Bissaka, he's going to have to improve going forward as well, Terry. It's all good being a good defensively, but we want someone like what Trent does. Like he's very good going forward. That's what we want. That's the bit he has to add to his game. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see him adding that to his game. I think when he goes forward, he looks a bit confused at Terry. He's like, dilly-dally on the ball and whatnot. Trippier's more fluid. He's more easy on the eye.
Right, and you're entitled to that opinion. For me, if you think that
I've seen Trippier a lot. He's better than him.
And that's fine. I don't listen. That kind of opinion isn't an issue for me. I've said all along. As much as I rate particular players at Man United, if you've got the opportunity to sign better, I don't buy into this bullshit around. Well, why would we sign X? It could damage Y.
No.
Well, Y has got up his game, then, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
This is the nature of the bit. Do you know what I mean? It's like, every time a new person creates a YouTube channel, I don't sit here and cry. I'm like, well done, you. Good content. I got up my game. Do you know what I mean? It's the way the world is. Like competition is required, and we need that at Manchester United. 100%.
Terry, I don't see Wan-Bissaka beating him. I just don't see it. I don't see him if we do get Trippier, it's just inevitable in time where, all right, cool, he probably won't start the first couple of games, but then the pressure is on. And Trippier it's eventually going to dislodge him. So I don't know what happens when they dislodge him. He's a £50 million defender. What's going to happen? What if he does dislodge him? Eventually, it's going to have to be sold. Because you're going to see what Trippier does. The fans will buy into it. And then when Bissaka comes on, he's a good defender.
But I will say, mate, you're making this sound like a negative, Mo. It's a positive.
It's positive. But it's the price that we bought.
Man United fans should always want this. Like, do you rate Mason Greenwood?
Love the guy.
Great. If Man United could bring through another youngster, or sign another youngster, that eventually led to Mason Greenwood being sold, but this new person, that's a better team, would you endorse it?
Yeah.
And if you're a Man United fan that doesn't, I'll say it with chest on camera, you're not a Man United fan.
Yeah, it should be competition.
I will never put a player ever above the progression of Manchester United Football Club. Although I want Mason Greenwood to be the guy, I want AWB to be the guy. If we bring someone in and what you say is true, Trippier comes in, leads to AWB being dropped, but we improve overall as a team because of it. You could, if you're not celebrating that, there is something wrong with you as a Man United fan? You're not a United fan. You know, I don't like. I just it makes no sense to me. Listen, Mo, top man, great call. Thanks for coming on and having your say. Thank you very, very much indeed. I don't know if you've all seen this today. Wonderful bit of skill here from man like. Look at this here from maybe a new United player there in Jadon Sancho. Look at that nice keepy uppies, that curling shot. Someone just sent it to me, like copied me in on it. Look at that bit of skill there. Very drippy. Very, very drippy indeed from the man, Jadon Sancho. Boom, boom, bang. Look at that. Top quality indeed. Hopefully a Man United player. Who knows when it will be announced? I have no idea. I'm not involved. I'm only telling you what I'm reading or what I'm being told. Next on the show. What's this here? Next on the show, we're going to go to Ramel is here with us. Ramel, remind everyone who you support, bro.
I'm a Liverpool fan.
What are you here to say, man?
I'm on the what do you call it? The Lorenzo Pellegrini news. First of all, I want to say I think he's a good player, but I also want to say that I don't believe this story is necessarily true. Now, I say that because since like FSG, Michael Edwards, Jurgen Klopp's done their business in the transfers, I can only really remember 2 deals that have literally dragged, but everyone's known about it. So I can remember the Keita one and the Salah one. Now, granted, Van Dijk, we had problems in the summer, but when we signed him in January, it was just bang. January 2nd, I think it was, bang, agreed, 75 million. Konate, it was just bang, done. Like, I didn't hear about this really beforehand. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So with the Lorenzo Pellegrini one, and even like when you spoke on the terrace about Rafinha and who was the other one, Daka, I'm like, all 3 players are really good. I welcome them into Liverpool and whatnot, but I'm waiting. I'm just waiting and see. I'm not trying to get all hyped up and gassed or anything. But like what Ram said about like Henderson or whatnot. I love Henderson, but I'm noticing like his body's breaking down, if you get what I mean. So at the end of last season, when we won the title and shit, he got himself mashed up again. You know what I mean? Like he's I think it was a knee injury, you know, but like he lifted the trophy with a strap on. You know what I mean? So and then like throughout this season.
Hello. All right, Mel seems to have frozen there. Try and call back in, my guy, and have your say with us. I would like to know. A lot of people are telling me to go read what Jose Mourinho has been saying and whatever. I'll have a little read and a look at that later. What's this one here? A quote someone sent me. Mourinho, the reality is, since then, leaving Man United, even with a different investment, a different stability, a different perception that somebody is doing amazing work. What happened? Nothing happened. Wow. I mean, but this is the thing. Mourinho's not overtly wrong. You know, all these new approaches. I just read that quote there. People have been copying me on them, like atting me. All the restructuring, all the cultural rebooting, all of these things are great buzzwords, but it needs to result in trophies in the end. Now, so far that hasn't worked. And there comes a point where is the direction, is the style, is the ethos right? Or is it wrong? If it's right, but we ain't using the trophies, what do we look at? Personnel. Personnel includes management. That's what you need to look at there. I mean, but in the cold, hard light of day, there have been, nothing in terms of trophies has happened. Are Man United in a better position now than when Ollie took over in terms of across the board? I would say yes. Is that solely because Jose's gone? No, it's because the club is trying to rebuild itself. But the problem we have is we have no faith in the way the football club is run, and until we see the fruits of that. Like, the thing is, all the things that are happening, all the things that are being done at the football club, until we start winning trophies, there's only so much praise you can give it, because at the end of the day, that's what football clubs are there for. So you can't really get, you really can't get away from that. You really can't get away from that. You can't. And he also says here, this season, people were saying great season for finishing second. I finished second and it was a bad season. I agree with him. If we'd have won a trophy this year and finished second, I would never have said great season. It would have been a good season, an improvement. But we didn't win the trophy. So in the end, it ended up being a bang average season. And he's right in terms of that. I don't really know what we've learned different from these comments from Jose Mourinho. Maybe none at all. What I find really interesting, what I feel really interesting about the Jose Mourinho comments is a lot of it is very damning on the club. And a lot of people that are backing Jose were the biggest Jose outers, which I find interesting. It's a lot of what's being spoken about is club orientated, which is what the main focus should be. Remember that hashtag Glazers out. A few people saying Jose is just bitter. Well, look, there might be a little bit of that in there with Jose Mourinho. There may be a little bit of that bitterness there from him, but I'm not surprised there's that little bit of bitterness from him. I'm not surprised there's that anger because Jose, like LVG, were not treated great by Manchester United either. It doesn't relinquish the responsibility of their formations, their training techniques, their attitude, their fallings out with players. That is on them. They're grown men. They're responsible. But let's not kid ourselves that the club and the Glazers were still the biggest problem when them two men were managers. Same with Moyes, really. The club was still the bigger problem. And it's important that we don't lose sight of that. I've really switched off from Ollie in, Ollie out debates at the moment just because I've listened to a few on YouTube and a few spaces where they're being discussed, and there's nothing new. No one's bringing in any new thoughts to it. It's the same tired, laboured nonsense. But what is being forgotten about, again, is the Glazers are the biggest problem. And I think that's because it isn't fashionable. That's because it isn't getting you retweets. That's because it isn't getting you new followers. That's because it isn't getting any traction anymore. So nobody's focusing on it. Nobody's focusing on it whatsoever at all. Which I find very, very strange indeed. Next on the show, we've got another Man United fan. Ishmael Patel is here with us. What are you saying, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very, very well. What do you want to say, my man?
The Sancho deal, firstly, I think it's going to happen. I think United would send the bid less, say I think 80 million, and and then because the reason they want to get Sancho deal done because the Glazers want to do the shirt sales, then make everyone buy the United new season kit next season, and say to the fans that we've got Sancho, and then with the Trippier, I think we should go for Trippier because Wan-Bissaka we need competition. Look at Luke Shaw, for example, for when Alex Telles came in. Luke Shaw has been fantastic this season, and Telles did not have a chance to play. And with Wan-Bissaka, he would need that too with Trippier, and then yeah.
Listen, mate, great points there. I hear what you're saying about the shirt sales. There's definitely a train of thought in there that makes sense. Top man, Ishmael, thank you very, very much indeed for coming on. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a few people saying here, but just sack Ollie. You know, the cycle repeats. Marble Hall says Simon Jordan digs out Ollie. The problem that you find is that people live in two camps with Ollie generally. It's Ollie in, Ollie outers, and I find them both infuriating. Some never want to criticize, and some do nothing but criticize. You know, Ollie outers, they despise, as a general rule, Bruno Fernandes. Why? Because Bruno Fernandes has been integral to him keeping his job. And it's a player that Ollie gets praised for developing and buying and integrating. So they do what he scored a brace and got an assist in the game yesterday. Why does it matter? It's only a friendly. When he played in the previous Portugal friendly and didn't score, they said, see, he's not world class. He doesn't perform for his country. That's why the debates are tired, because it's like talking to children. It's got to a point where it's like talking to children on the matter. People are so hell-bent on their opinion that they don't even want to concede a point, let alone the argument. So it just becomes nonsensical. Ollie outers don't want Ollie no matter what. Ollie inners won't criticize him no matter what. I'm going to let both those groups of people die on their heels. I'm going to sit here and talk to genuine football people that see some positives in Ollie and some bads in Ollie. They might see more negatives, but they do see some positives. They might see more positives, but they do see some negatives. And that's generally how real life is. And that's the space I'm going to be sitting in. Of course, if a staunch Ollie out wants to phone up and have their say, no echo chambers here at the Terrace. But I absolutely love it. I almost know, on every subject about Man United, I almost know what certain people are going to say before they say it, because the agenda is so deep. It's so deep. And it's amazing. Like, and by the way, I agree with them on their overarching Ollie point. I don't think Ollie's a good enough manager to make us Premier League champions. I agree with it. But it's just everything else that comes with it is mad. It's pure. I saw one tweet the other day saying he's going to be so angry if we sign all these world-class players this summer because Ollie don't deserve them. It's like really. What's the quote from the Michael Jordan quote? I took it personally. Like it's literally like you're taking it personal. Like it's funny. I love it. I absolutely love it. KJ coming up very soon. Next on the show, Josh Sutton is here. But viewers, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the Football Terrace. Josh is here. What you saying, mate?
I just want to get it right. Your news you've been given is saying that Dortmund are saying there's no bid or any advancements from United, correct?
Yes. So this is what I was told this morning, and I'll give this word for word.
Yep.
And what I heard yesterday is that Dortmund were getting the hump because of the speculation and no sign of an official offer. So intermediaries are now chasing them up to see if they can intend to bid. So let's get this right in that. There's been no official negotiations or official bid because they're using intermediaries. So both sides will palm that down. But Dortmund are expecting an official bid and it hasn't come in. So now the intermediaries are saying to Man United, are you going to do this or not? Because Dortmund are getting sick and tired of the speculation. Because, of course, every time there's speculation, there's 101 journalists knocking on their door asking questions. So, and they don't really need that. Like, who needs that? Do you know what I mean? So that's where it is right now. That's where it is right now. The thing is, it's whether or not today, before the Euro starts, Man United will make that official approach or not.
Right. Okay. Well, that if true, that comes up to just another episode of the Well Aid Weekly. Honestly, I mean, yeah, it's a nightmare, really. I mean, it's the first day of the window, so you got to temper your expectations. You can't think that we're going to do 8 pieces of business ins and outs. It just doesn't work like that. Euros, big tournament, everyone's going to be focused on their country. But I mean, if it happens, it happens. I'm honestly expecting a madness. This club is far too beyond reproach for me. I can't see any positivity. If we get Sancho, great. If we get Trippier, great. Good players, squad depth, whatever. But I just, I have no hope that these guys are going to do anything efficiently. Also, I just want to say, why aren't Liverpool fans getting gassed about having Pellegrini linked to them? I mean, he's a class player. I'd love to have him at United. He could oust anyone in our current midfield. Honestly, barring Pogba and Fernandes, he's a class player. I'd love to have him at United. So I'm surprised that Liverpool fans aren't more excited about that, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think he's very, very. Do you know what? I don't know. I can't answer for Liverpool fans. I think some have phoned up and seen him. When you see your rivals though linked with Sancho, Haaland, Hakimi, Verratti, Saul Niguez, Jack Grealish, Harry Kane, then when you see Pellegrini, I think there's
a bit of a letdown.
Yeah, it just feels a little bit. Not as nice, not as fun, not as exciting, but it doesn't mean they're not going to turn out to be good signings. Remember last year, if every Liverpool fan is thinking that, go back 12 months. They've gutted. Oh, Chelsea got Werner. We're in the mud. They signed Jota. If it weren't for the injury, and Jota probably had a better season individually than Timo Werner in a lot of people's eyes. And I don't think Liverpool fans by the end of the season were disappointed that they had Jota over Werner. So, let's watch this space and let's see what happens. Josh, thanks for the call, mate. Really appreciate it. Top man. Next on the show, man like KJ's here with me. What you saying, mate?
We're having to be chased by Dortmund to put a bid in. That's funny. I don't know if it's going to actually go in. I know Jan Fjotov said Manchester United and Jadon Sancho are getting closer. I think that's more to do with his personal terms that have been readjusted than anything. I don't think it's anything to do with actually getting Dortmund to agree a fee. I still believe it's going to take forever and a day just to get this done. And there's a part of me that the longer this goes on, I know it's only the start of the window, but the longer it goes on, the more I feel like potentially what happened last summer will happen again. All this talk, all this media speculation, all this and that, just for United to miss the deadline and try and bid at the wrong time and still not get Jadon Sancho. That trust is not fully there. So yeah, right now it's just hope. But yeah, the fact that it sounds like Dortmund are chasing us to be like, yo, fam, are you gonna be putting a bid in or not? Because we've got people. They're basically saying that because they've got players to sign.
Yeah.
They don't want to be waiting to the end of July to go get the P's and then get their replacements done. Because if they do that, their preseason, will they get their players in for preseason? Will their prices be inflated? Because after the Euros, because some of their players might be playing in the Euros. We don't know. So yeah, the fact that we're getting chased by Dortmund to put a bid in is very telling on their position in the whole thing. And also, I don't know if this is a strategy from United, but I don't like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these things here. It's where is this information coming from? So Dortmund are obviously saying that it's nothing to do with us. All these updates in the last 3 or 4 days, you know, as Dean Jones said on the Done Deal show on Tuesday, that he spoke to people at Dortmund and they've said all the updates that came Monday. Remember when Monday we went into this fury and you had Jan and Fabrizio and the Times and everybody else talking about the deal like moving closer and everything else. Dortmund said nothing's changed our end. We still haven't heard from Manchester United. I think what might be getting frustrating from a positive point of view is all the talk has happened through the intermediaries. And I think it's at a point where I do think things have been agreed through intermediaries. They're just waiting for Man United to bid. And they're getting frustrated that Man United are not bidding. Now, we don't know why they're not bidding. And we can speculate. And we're jaded. We have PTSD when it comes to the way Man United are run. So we think it's a negative point of view. It could just, I don't know what it is. I legitimately don't know what it is, why they're waiting so long. But the fact that Dortmund are getting frustrated worries me because we've lost out in battles to Dortmund before, and I just want us to get it done. But it's going to be an interesting 12 hours or so to see how this pushes.
They easily could just be like, you know what? No. You've bid the right money, but no. You know what I mean? They legit could do that and then wait for another team to deal with.
Yeah,
that's not in the realms of impossibility.
Absolutely. On the Kieran Trippier news, I'm not surprised £10 million has been rejected. Would you be enthused with a signing like Trippier?
I would be. Yeah, I would welcome it. I wouldn't obviously shout for the rooftops that we've got the best right back in the league or anything like that. No, but I would welcome it because Aaron Wan-Bissaka needs that competition. He needs that someone to back him up because one of the reasons why I feel like he has been so exposed this season is because has to play every single game. And we saw that last season as well. So he's played 2 straight seasons, basically, nearly 50 plus games each season. And that's not good. With Man United, no player should be racking up that amount of games really in this modern day because we should have a squad that we can rotate and rest players with. So people complain about Ali's man management in terms of rotation, and I completely understand why. In Aaron Wan-Bissaka's case, there is actually no other better option because if you rest Aaron Wan-Bissaka, it's Brandon Williams, which we can all say right now, I don't think is good enough. He might need a loan. He might need to go elsewhere. My preferred choice of right back for the future is Ethan Laird. But he's not ready. He needs more game time. He needs to go out and get more experience. So he needs a loan. Trippier comes in, brings experience, winning mentality, and allows these players like the Williams, like the Laird, to go out on loan and get football without the worry of who's going to back up Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And Trippier could even push Wan-Bissaka and take his spot, which is good, which we need at United.
Yeah, just sorry to change the subject really, really quickly, mate. Some breaking news in the last half an hour or so. Granit Xhaka has agreed a 5-year contract with Roma. The fee is expected to be between 18 and 20 million euros. He'll be a Roma player very soon. That is from Chris Wheatley, who's obviously over his digital boxing match with Fabrizio from last night. And
I missed that. What happened, bro?
No longer going to be an Arsenal player. He will join Roma. That is big news. There's no doubt about that whatsoever in terms of him leaving. Who now comes in? I mean, Ruben. I did hear Troop say last night on Igal's space that he looks at Ruben Neves as just the same thing as Xhaka, basically. A good long shots and average at everything else. It's really weird how Neves is just the stock in him. Like people's opinion in him has dropped dramatically. It's crazy, really, to me. 2 years ago, everybody really wanted him. Now everyone's like, man, I actually think he could be a tremendous signing for somebody. It's
yeah, but you know what's mad? People said the same about Jota when he signed for Liverpool. I think some people were like, is he really what Liverpool need? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of questions over him, and this is the same thing. It's like, I think he's a player that will be good in Arteta's system. Because if you think Xhaka is someone that he was key in his system, then I think Neves is an upgrade. Well, how much of an upgrade is a different question, but you can't go from saying he's one of the most sought after players in the Premier League to being he's a dud and no one should sign him in a season. You know what I mean? That don't make any sense. And he hasn't done anything to say that he's been bad.
And also, he's an integral part in this Portugal team who are given, a lot of people give him a good chance of going on and winning this. Like, he looks very good for Portugal. I actually think Neves, for me, there's two or three players this summer that I'm looking at that are available. There is Sabitzer that's available for like 10, 15 million quid reportedly. There's Neves at around that 40 million mark. There's another player whose name is now eluding me. I mean, Trippier is another one of them, but there's another player that's name is eluding me. I think these are tap-ins for clubs. So when I look at it this way, as a Man United fan, is Ruben Neves as good as Paul Pogba or Verratti or N'Golo Kante? No, he isn't. But those players are hard to come by. Is Neves better than Fred and McTominay? Yes. Is Neves better than everybody else at Arsenal, barring Thomas Partey, who, by the way, hasn't shown us a Thomas Partey yet from Atletico? So is he better than Is he been better in the Prem than Thomas Partey has showed us so far? Yes. So it's an improvement in your team and within your squad. And I think at the price, it's the price you've got to look at. £40 million, you might even be able to pick him up for even more. I don't know. For me, I just feel like, I think a bit like that. Jota's goal scoring record was, if he wouldn't have got injured last season, I honestly think he could have gone on to score 20.
He would have lit up. He would have lit up.
Without a doubt.
You know what's funny about this Neves deal? 35 million is what's been reported. That's actually a good price. But I don't know why. For some reason, I don't feel like that's a good price for Arsenal. If you get what I'm trying to say.
What do you mean?
I feel like, I don't know. I feel like with Arsenal's budget and the way that they're spending right now, 35 million may not be a good price for them with other areas that they need to fill. So if they get that lower than 30, if they get it for 25 instead, I don't know if they will, but if they get it for 25, I think that's a beautiful, perfect price for Arsenal. But I think 35, I don't think it's overspending, but I feel like maybe for Arsenal it might be a bit much, considering they wasn't willing to spend around the same amount on Buendia. So yeah, maybe I'm just thinking, where is this gonna go then? Because if that's not your main target, but yet one of your main targets you won't spend that money on, where you're spending your money, you know what I mean? Like I just don't get their money spending in that way.
That's because, in my opinion, mate, like legitimately, that's because I think Arsenal fans are having the wool pulled over their eyes, mate. When it comes down to the sort of situations with Buendia, it's the PR spin that you actually read what Chris Wheatley has put out, and this bit of his tweet from the other day, the way it got ignored for me was staggering. It was the one part of the Emi Buendia situation where I thought to myself, how on God's green earth are you ignoring this huge integral part? I'm going to go find it here because I know I quote tweeted it, so I've got to go and find it, because for me, I thought, well, Arsenal fans have got their answers here. And then they just seemingly ignored it, and I can't understand it yet. So this is what was said by Chris Wheatley on the 7th. He said, blah 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 blah. He says Arsenal matched the salary offered to Buendia, but Villa's package to Norwich was more enticing. told that Arsenal matched it, or went even more, but in a different structure. So the way it was spun is, oh yeah, we weren't going to add the 10% in, and we weren't prepared to pay that amount of money. You just wanted to spread the cost maybe over a longer period of time. Maybe Villa said, look, we'll pay the 33 mil, but we'll pay it over 3 seasons. Or Arsenal said, we'll pay you 40 mil, but it'll be over 5 years. And Villa looked at it and said, actually, we'd rather less money, but sooner, rather than it being spread out over a longer period of time. But Arsenal was still prepared. Like, you were still prepared to pay that amount. You just wanted to spread it. The structure of what you were offering isn't there. But that bit where it says matched it or even offered more, have you noticed that that's just been completely evaporated? And Chris Wheatley's very respected by Arsenal fans. But if you read all the replies, that bit doesn't get mentioned because it doesn't fit the narrative. And with the Neves thing, I don't think it's a bit like Liverpool last year, where Liverpool gave the PR spin of, we're not prepared to buy Werner because we don't think spending that amount of money in this climate is fair with everything going on in the world. And then they proceeded to spend practically the same amount of money on Jota. It's a nonsense. When Manchester United, and I'm not having a go at Arsenal here, I'm having a go at PR spin, because when Man United said we're not signing Sergio Aguero because there's no value in the market, that wasn't what Fergie believed. It's what he said to negate the fact that our club weren't willing to spend the money on him. It was spin. Do you understand where I'm coming from, mate? It's like, and that's all that happens in this. It's why clubs don't put official bids in now. It's all done through intermediaries. So they have the ability to say, we didn't get rejected because we didn't bid. And when it works in reverse, the reason that Liverpool pulled away from the Pepe deal is because Pepe wanted Liverpool only. Sorry, wanted Arsenal only. So did they officially get rejected? No, because there wasn't a deal on the table. But they inquired and were told he isn't going to join you. So it's the same difference. When Manchester United, it's the one I was looking at the other day, there was an example somebody else gave me where if you make an inquiry and you're told, no, they won't join. Bruno Fernandes, that was it. Bruno Fernandes, very early on in the summer before we signed him, told his agent to tell Spurs, to tell Liverpool, and to tell Barcelona, that all looked at him, that he only wants to join Man United. So on paper, none of those clubs were rejected because they didn't put an official bid in. But in reality, they all inquired and were told no. So it's how you want to spin these things. And no fan base likes to see the word rejected next to their club's name. But in the cold, hard light of day, all clubs, every single summer, will invariably be rejected by one target or two. It just happens. And we've all just got to learn to realize that's what really happens in football.
Do you think that the whole intermediary thing is mainly, like you said, just mainly solely driven by, we don't want to be shamed on the social media world, or don't want to be shamed with the fans and that? Like, do you really think it's that? Because if it is, that's sad.
I think part of it is that. I think there's also the element of delegation. So there's the element of, it's like banks do it all the time. Banks hire consultants to do large parts of work for them, because you delegate out, you bring somebody in for a specific job, and it's, listen, we'll pay you X, I just want you to manage that. So there's multiple variants to it. But someone says here, inquiring is a rejection with a question mark. Well, it depends on your inquiry. If your inquiry is, Liverpool, is Jordan Henderson up for sale this summer? No, he's not. We're not looking to sell him. That's not a rejection as such from the player anyway. That's just an inquiry. If you contact the agent of a player and say, look, we've heard that Liverpool are interested in selling Henderson. I'm going to throw a name of a club out here. We, Arsenal, are interested in signing him. And he says, yeah, my client's got no intention to play for you. That's a rejection, in my opinion. Because you've said you want to sign him. Would it be something we could work on? If their answer is no, he has no desire to join you, it's a rejection. A refusal, we can call it. At the end of the day, they've said no to you. And I think we as fans need to learn that this happened. Man United in our pomp got rejected by some serious players. Gaza, Gabriel Batistuta, Ronaldinho. In one way, and when I say rejected, a lot of people say, would have bid £500,000 more, we'd have got Ronaldinho. Yeah, but he obviously didn't desire to join us that much. Otherwise, he'd have gone, I ain't going Barca, I want to go Man United. He was happy to go to either, and he went that way. There wasn't that, but okay, that's cool. £500,000, it's fine, I'm moving this direction. It happens all the time. We're just too soft as fans to want to accept it, in my opinion. And it's the way it goes. If Jadon Sancho ends up joining Chelsea, it's a Man United rejection. Because he's changed his mind about where he wants to go, for me. Someone here says Jota was 42 million, Werner was 47 million. See, now you're splitting hairs over £5 and a bit million. Over £5 and a bit million. There is not a huge differential. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, if I won the Euro Millions and I won 42 mil or 47 million pounds, do you think I'm celebrating that much more for an extra 5 mil when I just bagged 42? Like, come on, you're splitting hairs now on these situations. You spent a very similar amount of money on a player. You really, really did. And people say, yeah, but you have to pay a buyout clause up front. Learn finance. You could borrow the money cheaper than spending your own cash, because the yield that clubs get for large cash balances from the level of bank, they don't bank with a high street bank like you and I do, where you're getting 0.1% interest rate. They are banking with high-end specialist banks that pay great yields on cash balances.
Oh, no, Terry. He's saying, responded to someone who said Jota was half the price.
Okay. Sorry, Scott. Apologies, my friend. Sorry. I apologize for that. But yeah, there we go. So listen, as I say, when it comes, we go back to the Xhaka thing leaving. Ruben Neves is an improvement. He's currently valued with the Football Observatory of between 30 and 40 million euros. What we also have to play in here as well, and this is in defense of Arsenal, is the media get quoted prices wrong.
Terry?
Yeah.
Breaking news, Man United have submitted their first official offer to Dortmund for Jadon Sancho. That is from Build. Build have said this.
Wow. There we go. Breaking
news. Focus said it as well.
Man United have bid for... Come on! Let's fucking go! Come on! Sorry. Excited.
But it says...
Been rejected.
The first intended sum of money from United is too low.
Why didn't you tell me that before I celebrated, KJ?
No, because I just saw what, like, you know, when United Journal, like when a United account retweets or posts something, they posted just the first part, and then I read Christian Folk, and that's where the extra part says, but the first intended sum of money is too low. And in brackets again, like 2020. Yeah.
But you know what? So the first initial sum, and this is what we spoke about on here the other day. It's not the bid hasn't been rejected. It's the structure of the deal, and this is the point here. Man United want to spread the costs over a longer period of time. Dortmund want more of the cash up front. That's what's being negotiated here. That's what we were talking about for days on the terrace. You know, is being discussed with the intermediary. So that's an interesting one there. But the first official bid has gone in late. Do you know what though? I'm still happy. I'm still celebrating. Now, listen, on a real level, because it's moving forward officially now. It's moving forward officially in relation to that, and we'll see how things. Listen, I'm telling you, the next 12 hours is going to be very, very important. And by the way, Dean Jones, with that information to us at 9:30 this morning. I can't show the DM. I never showed DMs. That basically said, you know, chasing the intermediaries to chase up to see whether they actually intend to bid. Within the hour of receiving that message, the official bid has gone in. Dean Jones knows his stuff.
Yeah, Terry, you know you said like they use intermediaries and Man United like to do things so that do things through intermediaries so they know what's got what on, and so when they bid they don't get a rejection or that the bid goes straight through. Why would we bid knowing that the money is not enough?
Well, I think it's the element of the sum is enough, but it's the structure. It's the structure of the deal where so you can work with an intermediary, but you still sometimes get to a point where it's like, yeah, we're not going to. This is the thing with negotiations of transactions of this level. There's only so much you can do for. This is why Dortmund were frustrated. There's only so much you can do for an intermediary where you need to start making it official. And there is this element of Man United are probably more willing, the same as the £10 million, the same as the same £10 million bid that's gone in from Trippier. Your first bid nearly always gets rejected. Liverpool have gone in for Pellegrini, and their first bid has been rejected. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not saying it's like a bad thing like United. It's just something like, you spent all this time doing X, Y, and Z. It's interesting that the first one has still been rejected. I thought it might have been they was trying to nail it down to such a point where it just gets accepted. But the fact that the first one's gone in is calm, innit? Because I know last season we was just waiting for the first one to go in for ages.
And I think what's important to remember as well, I know a lot of fans think this, but you know, like the intermediaries, the agents, the clubs, they don't work on these deals 9 hours a day. People go, but you've got 9 hours a day of work. How can you not get this deal done? Someone might spend half an hour in their day on this. It's like there'll be a conversation for half an hour in an office or on a conference call. And it's like, okay, we'll take that away and think about it. We'll go to the accounts department. We'll work on it's not like this is being intensely worked on every minute of the day. It's not the only responsibility that these people have. So it's an interesting one there. But let's see what happens. Listen, everyone who's tuned in today, a massive thank you to each and every single one of you. I'm sure there's going to be more updates on the Jadon Sancho situation soon. But until then, everyone, take care of yourselves. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you